Hello and welcome back. We are still talking about classes in Dart. As we said in the first part of this video, part one, we said that Dart is an object-oriented language. And the last thing we were talking about was classes, extension of classes, polymorphism, and inheritance. Again, guys, a reminder, the purpose of this video is not to walk you through all the details of OOP or all the details of Dart syntax. As we said, a better approach is to just get what's important to kick off or start, and then go and apply, and then get back here again to the documentation to learn more, and so on. So I'm going to pick the next topic, which will be the classes and the inheritance of the classes. And I'm going to use Dartbat. I think now you are pretty much familiar with it from the first part. So I'm going to create a class. I just want you guys to know that there are two main types of classes. Based on the implementation technique. So there are concrete classes and abstract classes. Concrete classes are the default classes, so they are not called concrete. They are just simply called class. So this is class 1. And class 1 is concrete. Why? Because simply it's called a class. And it's default type of classes. And I'm going now to create class 2, which is an abstract. So as you see here, it begins with abstract. So abstract class 2. This means that this is an abstract class. All right, what's the difference? So concrete classes, which are the default classes in Dart, which are also not named as concrete, they are just normal classes. They are classes that are ready to be used. So what does this mean? This means that if we go to class 1 and then we create a method, let's say a void named say hi, and it's just printing a string which is I'm saying hi. So this class is ready to be used. What does this mean? If we go and create our main method, do you remember what is this called? Yes, it's called entry point. So the main method here is going to maybe define a variable called class. Let's just call it C because class is a reserved keyword. So var C equals class 1, and then if you also remember what is this called, this is called the constructor because this is the very first method that's called in the class. And now we are able to just call or invoke the internal method inside this class, which says say hi. And this is a working program in Dart. So as you can see, the class is saying hi. All right, hello. Now, what about the abstract class? Abstract classes are not ready to be used. That's obvious, right? Abstract classes are not ready to be used because it needs to be implemented first. So when I say abstract class, if I want to create the same method, so let's create a method say hi. Now you see it's possible to do it like that. I didn't implement the method. I just defined the method. I just declared the signature of the method, which includes the return type of the method. This is called the return type. The first thing or the first word written in the definition of the method is called the return type. And void, as the name implies, just means nothing. It doesn't return anything. Also here in the signature, the second part of the signature is the methods, the parameters. So here also it doesn't take any parameter. This means that this method doesn't return anything and it doesn't take any parameters. I just define the signature of the method. I didn't define the body of the method or the implementation of the method. Why? Because we are in an abstract class. And what are abstract classes? They are simply classes that are not ready to be used because they are not yet implemented. This means I cannot go here and then say var c equal class 2 and then c dot say hi. I cannot say that. This is an error, you see? Abstract classes cannot be instantiated. You cannot create a new instance from an abstract class. Why? Because it's not yet implemented. This is nothing. This is just a contract saying say hi, but doesn't explain how to say hi. Now, if you go create a concrete class, how to create a concrete class? Just simply type class. It's not called concrete. It's just the default classes are concrete. So say class, and then let's call it maybe class 3. This time, I'm not going to define a new method. I'm going to extend an existing method from an existing class. So I'm going to use a keyword called extends, and then I'm going to pass the name of the class, the abstract class that I need to extend. So I'm passing class 2. So what does this mean? This means that I created an abstract class called class 2, which is not yet implemented, which declares the signature of a method called say hi, but it doesn't implement it. And then I created class 3 to actually implement it. So to actually extend class 2, and then since I'm extending class 2, now I must declare the full implementation of the method. So that's why you see here an error saying missing concrete implementation of class 2.say hi. This is a very detailed error description. That's excellent. This means that I need to again define the method say hi with the same name and with the same signature, but this time I need to define the body, write that, and let's say print. I'm again saying hi, but from class 3. So you see the error gone away because we implemented class 2 using another class called class 3, which is considered the concrete implementation. This class is ready to be used because it's complete, it's concrete. So now if we go here again and say var my class equals class 3, and then my class dot say hi, and then I'm going to run this, and then I'm seeing the message. It works. I'm saying hi, but from class 3. So I hope this gives you a quick introduction about the type of classes in Dart. And actually, probably this concept is the same concept everywhere. In Dart, in Java, in C#, in whatever object-oriented programming language, you will find the same concept of the abstract because it's a base concept in programming. So now that you know here that some classes are abstract and some classes are concrete, now I just want you to give you the name of the most two important classes in Flutter. The first is called stateless widget, and the second is called stateful widget. Both of them are widgets, and by widget we mean like any actually any component is a widget. Any UI component in Flutter is a widget. We are going to explain this in details. I'm just giving you, like giving, exposing you to the concept for the first time. But we are definitely going to hear this word a lot in the upcoming videos. So those are the most two important classes in Flutter: stateless widget and stateful widget. So now that we know the different type of classes and the most two important classes in Flutter, if you guys try to combine this with the part one, do you remember the video for the part one? I strongly recommend you guys to go and see it if you didn't. We were talking about the positional arguments, or sorry, parameters, and then name the parameters. And the reason why I picked those two topics specifically is because uh, in very short time we are now going to visit the code, and we are going to combine everything together: the entry point, the positional parameters, the named parameters, the type of classes, the keyword extents, stateless and stateful widgets. Everything will come together in one big picture. That's why, in my opinion, it was very important to introduce you guys first to these topics. Cool. So let's jump on the code again. I'm going to open our counter app. If you guys see this video for the first time, I strongly recommend you to see the previous videos. Otherwise, if you are familiar, just go and type Flutter create counter app, or whatever name you like. Just make sure not to put any spaces. And do this in the location or the directory that you want. I strongly recommend you to stay away from C drive. And then after doing this, you should have the following project structure that we previously explained in details, the folders and the files and the function of each file. If you didn't see that video, I recommend you to guys go and see it. What else? Yeah. So now, after having this project here open, use Visual Studio Code or any other editor that you like. I really recommend Visual Studio Code. So go to the lib folder, to the main.dart. This is, if you remember guys, the main code, and the lib directory is the directory where we will be working with Dart, while the other directories are the translated code. So here, let's try to combine now everything that we learned in the past 3 videos in this video. So first line, void main. This is the entry point. We talked about it before. Any Dart application should have an entry point. Otherwise, it will not run. And Flutter application is nothing except a Dart application, right? So that's why we also have the entry point right here. Okay, so first thing, we have a class called myApp. Why do we see extends stateless widget? What does this mean? This means that stateless widget is an abstract class. That's right. This means that we cannot just create a new instance from it simply. We cannot just say here stateless widget. We need to extend it because we need to provide the real or concrete implementation for it. By the way, a tricky hack that Flutter is open source, which means that you can see everything in the code. So although stateless widget doesn't exist here in this file, we cannot see it here, right? There is no class definition called stateless widget, but you can right click and go to definition, and then this will open the file for you so that you can see the class itself. For me, I like to do this a lot. So you can make sure that this is an abstract class. This explains why we are extending it. And do you remember here whenever you extend something, you need to rewrite the main method, but with declaring the body of the method or the implementation, right? Isn't that what we did short time ago um, with the say hi method? It's exactly the same. The only difference is that stateless widget has an abstract method called build, and this method is not implemented. So in your implementation of the class, my app or whatever the name, you need to rewrite it again with the same signature and write the full body for it. Cool. So we have the class and we have the extension. So we covered the inheritance and concrete versus abstract topic. That's perfect. Now let's go in the next line. So you see here, my app. Okay, just ignore this constant thing. It's not a big deal. Now you see my app again, and you see those two brackets. What does this mean? This is the constructor of the class, and those curly braces here represent the named parameters. Do you remember the named parameters? Go and see the previous video if you are not familiar with it. I explained there the difference between the name and the positional parameters. So those are name parameters. You might wonder why it doesn't contain the name and the colon. It's just a special type of the named parameters. All right, so over here we are returning something called material app, which is another class. And you can see here, you open the class with brackets, and then you pass three things inside it. Title, theme, home. Those are again a named constructor parameters that are passed inside a class called material app. And if you also do the same thing and right click, go to definition, you can see the body of the class itself. As you can see, it doesn't start with the word abstract. This means that it's a concrete class, and this means that it's ready to be used. And we can simply just call it and invoke it, passing the constructor parameters as we did in the previous video. All right, so now we are subjected to the named parameters as well. That's great. What else? Here we go. We made the stateless widget in the first class, and in the second class we made the stateful widget, which is not too very different from the stateless widget, right? I mean, since we don't know both of them right now, so it doesn't matter the name, stateless or stateful. It's probably the same thing, right? You should be familiar now with the overall picture that you see in front of your eyes. There is a class, and it's extending from another class, a class definition called my home page, and it's extending from something called stateful widget. Why does it extend? Because stateful widget is definitely an abstract class which is not ready to be used. It needs to be implemented. So if you go and right click it and go to definition, you will find that it's abstract class. Now to the first line of it, this is called the constructor. We can see curly braces because those are named constructor parameters. After that, you can see a field called title, which is passed in the constructor as well with its name. We can skip that. We are going to cover this in details. Then after that, you see here something called override, and then implementing something called create state. What does this mean? This means that create state is a method in the base class that was not implemented, that was abstract. But since we are creating the concrete implementation of this class, now we need to implement it. That's why we already implemented right here. By the way, it just points out to another class. This part is a bit complex, but I don't want you guys to focus on understanding everything you see. I just want to expose you to these things because definitely in the very next video you are going to hit these things a lot, and you will be confused if you do not know exactly what each thing is. So it's not important to understand everything, but I think for now, but I think that now you are subjected to a good amount of information. You are able to analyze the code blocks that you see in front of your eyes. You are able to maybe match this to some information that we already learned in the previous videos. Go and review the previous videos again, and also I recommend you to go and uh, increase your knowledge a bit in this documentation. And as I mentioned, don't just go and finish it all together in one sit, but instead just pick up some information, go return here again to try to match between the information and what you see in front of your eyes, and then after that go again, pick another topic, and so on. This is definitely a much effective approach for learning. So far, I think because I don't want to increase, like the length of the video too much for you guys, not to get bored. So I think this is very good for now. For part two, I think we are got subjected to the main UI fundamentals. Everything in Flutter is either a stateless widget or a stateful widget or something customizable between them. So now you know the names of the big guys. After that, it will be much easier, maybe in part three, to get subjected to the main components. Until then, stay tuned, guys, for the next video, and thank you a lot for watching. See you soon.